And welcome to Geopolitical Trends. Very excited to be with you as always. My topic today will be about the recent, which was only about 3 days ago, of the King of Bahrain to Moscow. This doesn't happen in a vacuum, guys, especially if you only know the history of Bahrain and why. So, in this live stream here, this is what I'm going to be digging deeper into, given my familiarity with not only the country but the region, as one who not wrote a books about Middle Eastern countries, articles, but I spent also time on the ground over there. So just prepare some question or two towards the end, and this is what I'm going to be sharing with you. Before I'll do any of this, let me say hi to whomever is here. Now I couldn't understand the first one there. You too, super, from Canada. I can see the maple leaf there. Good to see you as always. Brianna, Olivia, good to see you. Lori, good to see you as always. Invite Carol Rod. Sure, I'll check her out and extend an invitation. So, Marcian Dorcier, good to see you. Truth Seeker as always. John Smith, New Zealand. Sue, good to see you. Hamad Sidi. Juan KC, Locio Delgado from Montreal. Good to see you, Locio. Sometimes I wonder where you are. I don't see you often here, but I understand you guys busy. I understand the timing. It's understood. So I'm always glad when you can make it live here. Sifmi, good to see you. Timeline Dunkley, good to see you as always. Oh, here is Dr. Shahbaz Khan. Good to see you. Wow, you are in Bahrain. Yeah, I'm gonna share it with you on the screen, guys, just to see. This is where Dr. Shahbaz Khan is in Bahrain. So wow, very interesting. So good to see you. Farhad Razavi, as always, all-star. X, good to see you. Coach Hoy, good to see you. Hussein Sidib, good to see you. Salut à toi aussi. YT, Lucien Pan, and Famida Nidayadi, good to see you as well. So, all right, guys, let's get into what we're gonna be talking about. Let me delete this page here because I don't need this. Sometimes when you open too many screens, the computer slows down. So, all right, my topic today, as I mentioned, I'm going to be talking about the recent visit of the Bahraini king. His name is Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa. He comes from a family that's been ruling that country forever. So, but I'm not going to talk about just the diplomatic protocol of the visits and so forth. We're talking about, of course, what's really behind all this. And this leads me to share with you the questions that I always prepare for this one. So the first question is Bahrain pivoting to Russia? Now, how would you consider that? And those questions, by the way, for you guys to contemplate, because where is in Bahrain? What is Bahrain known for? Let me see what you guys type in the chat box. Yeah, major presence in Bahrain from the West, especially from the United States. Let me see what you guys come up with here. And I know oil, beside oil and natural resources, there is something else. There is something else major, beside gas, beside all this. Dr. Shahbaz Khan, were you there? So it's the American Fifth Fleet. You have to understand why it was there to begin with after World War II. Those things don't happen in a vacuum. And that's why you put it in a context as to this kind of visit, okay, and the timing of it, which is the second part of the questioning. Why this guy didn't, the king that is, why didn't he go like 6 months ago? Is the timing of it. Third question is, what does this have to do with China and Iran? Yeah, this is the whole idea of why I do this kind of analysis for you, because Western media, I ain't gonna disclose that to you guys. They won't. They might not even understand the dynamics because they have to follow an agenda. So they're gonna steer the masses in one direction or another. For me, I don't have to worry about that. I'm gonna provide you my own analysis, and this is my own, the way I see it. And of course, you can either accept it or reject it. You think freely and you think independently because you are now at a stage where you can think. You've been around with me long enough now. I feel comfortable saying this. So, and the last question is, what will the US do? given that there is the Fifth Fleet in Bahrain. Okay, all those are questions worth asking. As I delve into the details and analysis, yeah, you can form your opinion thereafter. So the question, as I mentioned earlier, so all those questions make perfect sense. But before I do all this, I'm going to share a clip with you. I want you to watch it, listen carefully. It's very short. I usually don't do those clips the clips very long. So, all right, let me share the screen so you'll see it. Okay, in Russia. All right, here it is. Let me make it bigger here for you guys to see. And please just give me a thumbs up as far as the sound, because I want to make sure.
A 2-day state visit for Bahrain's king in Moscow. King Hamad bin Isa al Khalifa arrived on Thursday, where he held talks with President Vladimir Putin. The Bahraini king commended Russia's economic and comprehensive development, affirming the keenness to strengthen Bahrain-Russia relations.
وكان اتفاق تام بأن
We have reached an agreement to create an international peace conference, and Russia is the first country to support this conference. And that's because without Russia's support, this conference has no value.
لأن بلا دعم روسيا لا قيمة لهذا المؤتمر.
And the same with other influential international countries. Therefore, we hope to be successful in making this conference happen in Bahrain.
هذا المؤتمر في البحرين.
Speaking about economic relations with Bahrain, President Putin noted positive trends in bilateral trade that spanned many areas, including fintech, energy, tourism.
I'm gonna stop it right here. For me, I can hear when I play the video for you. So basically, what I was saying in Arabic, which you heard the translation there anyway, so I don't need to repeat this one. Now, the question for me personally asking after this one is, here he is, the king that is going to Russia. All of a sudden, to me, right off the bat, the question comes to, did he get the nod from the US to do so? Now, some will say, well, no, it's a sovereign state. No, it doesn't work that way. If you only know the dynamics of how it works, especially for a monarchy like his, to maintain its survival. This is no different than Saudi Arabia. This is no different than Jordan, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, all of them. Oman and those Gulf states, their survival depends on what the US says and does. This might surprise you, it might not. But to me, that was the first question that popped my head. Now, you'll think about it from the big picture. Because what was the king asking for? He was asking for a peace summit, right? Regarding the Middle East. Even with that is so damn vague. Middle East about what? It's because Bahrain and other Arab countries sort of wanted to, what's the word I'm looking for? Soften the blow as far as how they've been exposed regarding the Gaza conflict, because it shows how weak Arab countries are and Muslim countries across the board. You look at Indonesia, you look at Malaysia with a large Muslim majority, they are far apart, and yet they still have condemned certain aspects. I'm talking about the willingness to step on the ground. And this is what those monarchies are afraid of. And I'll delve deeper as I move forward after I'll talk to you about geography and history, because it is worth understanding a little bit. So let me share the map with you guys right here. And I give credit, of course, to World Atlas. All right, let's share the map here. Bahrain is very, very, very small. There we go. So that's what it is. So Bahrain, it's an island. It is considered a country, of course, but it's an island nation in West Asia. That's what it is. Of course, the maps is going to say Middle East. The one I refer to back and forth because both terminologies can be used, and I've used both of them. So in West Asia, it is situated in the northern and eastern hemisphere of the Earth, of course. The archipelago consists of the main island of Bahrain and other small islands. Bahrain is in the Persian Gulf, to the east of Saudi Arabia and to the north of Qatar. Bahrain shares its maritime borders with Iran, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia. It's very important to understand this geography. And when it comes down to the history of it, Bahrain has kind of root, really, really deep roots in the past. We're talking about going some 5,000 years, because it was home of many, many civilizations, including Dilmun, Telos, and Awa. So throughout the history, it was called the land of immortality. It was also known, and I looked at some other historical record and I found it in quote, because that's how it's been referenced to throughout the historical record. It was also known as the Great Paradise, in quote, that is, as it was known for freshwater springs and palm trees fields. Bahrain was a vital link between civilizations such as the Phoenicians in the Levant, Mesopotamia in ancient Iraq, the Nile Valley in ancient Egypt. So excavations and historic evidence prove that Bahrain to be a commercial hub and a sea transit point between East and West. And I could confirm this one also when I wrote my Saudi book, and I detailed about how that part of the world in its entirety there was some sort of a hub between the East and the West regarding trade and commerce. And as I said, it goes back 5,000 years ago. We're looking at about between 2,800 BC and 323 BC. So Bahrain was the home of the Dilmun or Dilmun, it depends how you pronounce it, civilizations from the Bronze Age, which lasted for about, by the way, guys, just FYI here, and I want you to ask you, how long, in your opinion, the Bronze Age lasted? Does anybody know? And again, we're just sharing knowledge here. So if you can type in a chat box, just how many Bronze Age. I'm not talking the Ice Age. Bronze Age. How did it last? How long did it last? If you can just type in a chat box briefly here. All right, let me see. It takes a while. Oh, Muslim revert, you closer. You closer. You closer. Let me see someone else here. 600 years, Alaskan law, more than that. Oh, truth seeker, you got it. About 2,000 years. Just remember this for your own reference. The Bronze Age lasted for about 2,000 years. And this is when, during that era, when the kingdom of Dilmun, it was known as Kingdom, was an important commercial hub, and it made connections with civilized centers in Indo Valley, Persia, the eastern coast of Africa, and Mesopotamia. So the kingdom was also, that means Dilmun, was also a commercial hub between the Arabian Peninsula and India, a center that Bahrain still maintains and now still play a vital role. So, nevertheless, some of the Bahraini people work in agricultural and fishing activities, and because Bahrain was alternately occupied by Babylonians, Sumerians, Greeks, Persians, Portuguese, the Turks, and others. So it's quite an interesting to understand this kind of background, because those countries in the region didn't just come from some nomads lands or just showed up, whatever. There's a history there in the background. So the Greeks, by the way, it was the Greeks that gave it the name Tylos, which was between 323 BC and 200 AD. And of course, in the early age or era of the Islamic stage or phase, that is, Bahrain was given the name of Awal or Awal, depends again how you pronounce it, which is derived from the name of Arab tribe Wa'il. That is, I've read this in Arabic history when I used to read stuff. Wa'il, I'm familiar with this one here, that moved to the island from the Arabian Peninsula. That's when it came from. So I'm gonna fast forward to the Middle Ages and the religion of Islam, because that's what shaped. Because and again, it's worth your time and knowledge to know exactly what happened, especially in the 7th century. So Bahrain was one of the first provinces to convert to Islam in the 7th century. Its people participated in the Islamic conquest. And during the Umayyad era, which was between 661 and 750, Bahrain was considered as part of the Emirate of Basra in Iraq. That's how it was. In this era, commerce flourished due to the reform of roads, revitalization of maritime traffic, and a recovery of transit trade across the Arab-Persian Gulf. Why am I sharing this, guys, with you? Once again, to highlight to you, even back then, we're talking about 7th century, it was the economic incentives that had moved societies forward. Exactly what we are witnessing today. Look, when a country invest in its infrastructure, what happened? Look, when a country ignore its infrastructure, ignore its economic outlooks and so forth, what happened to it? And the best examples I can give you guys now, it's two. One of them is China, and the other one is the EU, Europe in general. Look what Europe is doing, sinking itself into a pit or a hole, economically speaking. Look what China's doing, improving on its infrastructure, building stuff, whatever, and the same thing here. History tells us exactly what happened. So after that time, the Abbasid dynasty ruled Bahrain until it came under the rule of King of Hormuz in 1230. The kings of Hormuz ruled Bahrain 3 times, and the fourth time was when they took Bahrain from the Juburij, in the middle of 1521. And their rule continued for about 80 years when the Safavids, which is the dynasty of Persia descendant, I detailed this in my Iran book because I had to write about the Safavids, the descendants of them, took control of Bahrain in 1602. Now, here is a caveat for you guys to know. This is why, till today, in Bahrain, majority are Shia. So, in 1529, the Hormuz king Turan Shah Muhammad Shah, the son of Muzaffar ad-Din Mahar Turan Shah, appointed Jalaluddin Murad Mahmud Shah as ruler of Bahrain. Jalaluddin ruled Bahrain until he died in 1577 CE, Common Era, that is. Jalaluddin, of course, established a ruling family in Bahrain under the name of Barangar family. That's how it was known at that time. His first son, Kamal ad-Din Jamal Mahmud Masood Shah, because remember, one thing I need to share with you here about the Arabic culture and Islamic and all that, the names of always carry the name of the father, the name of the grandfather, or the name of the great-grandfather. That's what you notice in here. So when the ruler Jalaluddin had a son, his son took over, and his name was Kamal ad-Din Jamal Mahmud Masood Shah, which because of his father and grandfather and so forth, succeeded him until his death in 1602. After that, the second son, Jalaluddin Amir Yusuf Shah, ascended to the throne until his death in a battle that was considered as the last attempt of the Portuguese to restore Bahrain in 1605. The presence of the Western was very important. Now, there is one era that you need to know about, and the era has to do with the Ottomans. You cannot think of that part of the world without thinking about the Ottomans. So the Ottomans annexed Al-Ashra to their empire in 1550. And in June 1559, Mustafa Pasha, the Wali of the Ashra, Wali means, in this case, the governor, arrived with the Ottoman army in Bahrain. And in 1861, Bahrain became, what did it become, guys? Can anybody guess? What did it become? And remember, keep in mind, there was European presence start to emerge there. What did it become? Most of those countries in the region, like Jordan, like even Palestine itself, like some other parts, became what? At that time, Imarat Bani Khalid. That is correct. Sabah al-Khair. That is correct. Imarat Bani Khalid. I'm looking for specific colony. You got it, but of whom? Of whom? British colony. You got it. You got it, because that is the key for you to understand why the United Kingdom messed up the Middle East as a whole. The British didn't do anything good for the whole region. That's why the mess West Asia or Middle East is in now is because of what the Brits did. So back then, Bahrain became a British protectorate. A treaty to recognize the independence of Bahrain was signed in 1913. Here is the key again, between Britain and the Ottoman Empire. The treaty gave Britain the right to keep Bahrain under its administration. They did the same for Jordan. In 1931, of course, what happened in that part of the world? Oil was discovered. Okay? And this where the production began the following year, meaning in 1932. This is why the U.S. Conoco went to the Middle East. So at that time, and here is where the history of the ruling family comes in. The sheikh means the head of a tribe. Usually in that part of the world, the tribe means a lot. And the sheikh or sheikh holds a lot of power and respect. And even governments, I mean, you think about, for example, in Jordan now, or Iraq, or Syria, or whatever, most of the rulers have to ensure the support of the tribes. Otherwise, it will be problematic. So what happened back then? Sheikh Isa bin Salman Al Khalifa took power in 1961. And from that forward, the family is ruling till today. So in January 1970, his brother, Sheikh Khalifa bin Salman Al Khalifa, chaired the State Administrative Council. And in the same year, Iran abandoned its claim in Bahrain after the UN report showed that Bahraini wanted their state to remain independent. Was it? So fast forward to 1971. What happened in 1971? Can anybody tell me a major event in Bahrain? 1971. And once again, guys, it's just to get you part of into the conversation, no more, no less. What happened in 1971 in Bahrain? Oil embargo, 1973. That one. I'm talking 71. Good try, though. Good try, Army with Harmony. Good try. 1971. Independence. You got it. Hushya. 1971 was the independence of Bahrain. Bahrain declared independence and signed a new treaty of friendship with Britain. Sheikh Isa became the first emir of the country. That's why they called him emir. Not in the sense like what they have in Britain, the crown prince, or the like. What's his name? What's the guy's name? Prince William, whatever the heck his name is. Then the state council was turned into a council of ministers, and the rest is history. So, of course, what you need to know is that when the Arabs, actually, there is an event that you need to know about, and this one was about 1991. What happened in 1991? You all should know, right? What happened in 1991 in Persian Gulf? Major event in West Asia or Middle East, whatever you want to call it. 1991, Gulf War. You got it. Gulf War. Well, guess what? Bahrain participated into that. It's called at that time Desert Storm. So coalition against Iraq. Of course, if you know the history of it, all those oil fields were burned by whom? Which they never disclosed the truth as to who really burned those oil fields. It wasn't Iraq. Let's state the fact. So, of course, 1981, I'll take you a decade before that. Bahrain joined the Council of the Gulf Cooperation Council at that time, which included Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates. That's where it was. As I mentioned, 1991 was the participation in the Gulf War. Then Bahrain also took place with the GCC, the Gulf Cooperation Council. So now there was one particular island that there was some disputes over it. It's called Hawar Islands. So there are others called Fasht Dibal and Jaradat Kayat. Of course, the International Court in The Hague kind of get involved in this, and that's when Bahrain signed the Defense Cooperation Agreement. With whom? Can anybody guess? With whom did they sign the defense agreement? Of course, you got it. You too, super. With the United States, stipulating the protection of port facilities and joint military exercises. So, and of course, 1990s was marked, the whole era was marked by major security concerns at that time. Why? Because of the between the Shia majority and the ruling Sunni authorities. Because remember one thing that I need you to understand, which a lot of people do not know, is that most of the current monarchies, they have majority of Shia, but guess who holds the power? Are Sunnis. Why do you think Saddam was able to rule in Iraq? Even though Iraq had more Shia than Sunnis, it's because the deal he cut with the tribes. So the same thing happening in Bahrain, Kuwait, Lebanon, United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, which I'm very familiar with, given I wrote a book about it, is that in the southeastern part of Saudi Arabia is majority Shia. And guess what that part in the country have? It has oil. This is one the concern most of the monarchs in the Gulf, Persian Gulf and all that, they're scared of. This is why I want you to put the visit of the king of Bahrain to Russia within the context, because you need to understand how history is. Again, Western media ain't gonna disclose all this saying, oh, the king of Bahrain went to Russia and just to establish ties and reestablish diplomatic ties, whatever. No. They are not disclosing the truth. The truth is because Bahrain is concerned now that the tide are turning in Middle East or West Asia, that is. Because like I mentioned in one of the videos, who is shaping the geopolitical landscape in the Middle East now? It's not the United States anymore. It is Iran. In addition to behind the scenes, China and Russia. Bahrain is concerned not about the peace in the Middle East, they're concerned about the survival of the monarchy. That is why they are saying, and you heard that clip, when the king is said, Well, of course, we want Russia to be the first invited to this international summit that's going to have some Western allies. Here is my take also, guys, because I am thinking outside the box. My take is the US most likely might have talked to Bahrain by pushing Bahrain to mediate indirectly with the Russians. Because one thing I need you to know, there is a door now that is ajar regarding the peace talks, regarding the Ukraine conflict. Despite what you hear, I just did this morning, by the way, I had an interview with RT. If you check it out, you'll see. They reached out to me to share my views about where I see the conflict going and whatever. And I had to talk about this particular aspect of it. We tend to do this kind of stuff. Behind the scenes, we're showing this toughness and all that, but we are using our, I don't call them ally, I call them vassal states. Because it's the truth. Bahrain, it depends on survival for the US. That's why you have the Fifth Fleet there. But also Bahrain is concerned that now they're seeing where Iran is. And there is another dimension, which I am going to probably do a video for you. Iran has developed now enough uranium to build a nuclear weapon. What do you guys think? Should Iran go forward and build it? Because that becomes a deterrence. How dare the US or Israel to even attack? Even they couldn't do it now. But what do you guys think, in your opinion? Should Iran move forward with building the bomb? Let me see your answer, guys. Because now, as I said, they have enough uranium. Alice Taklin, you said yes. Farhat Razavi, of course. Hushia, you say no. Sangtan, you say yes. If Iran announced that they have enough. You wrote, if not, who wrote this one? Omsi, you wrote, if Iran announced that they have enough uranium, they already built a bomb. That's possibility. But if I am to give you a parallel to this, North Korea didn't do the same. North Korea went ahead, developed the uranium, and built it right away. So, Wong KC, you say yes. So, most likely it is the case. But this is one thing I want you to know why Bahrain is concerned. So, this is where understanding what geopolitics is all about. It's a chess move by Bahrain to ensure the survival of the monarchy. The same arguments can be made about Jordan, same thing with Saudi Arabia. So, just to follow up on my conversation here about after 1991, as I said, it was a rise of the Shia at that time. Okay? And this is where the concern became very, very major, especially in 2011. What happened in 2011? Does anybody can tell me? I mean, you guys should know this because it was a major event. And I'll help you out here. It took place across the Arab world, or Muslim world, that is. What happened in, not the BRI, Matt Becky, no, which is, of course, 2013 BRI, 2011. Libya, you get in there, but it's not. Arab Spring, Dr. Shibaz Khan, you got it. Arab Spring, that's what took place. And it's because for the Arab Spring, which, by the way, the West never, when I say the West, I got to talk about my country. I can't talk about Germany and France are useless anyway. The United States, let me share this truth with you here, because I was in Washington at that time. The United States, despite the intelligence community, whatever amount of money we spend, which are in the billions, we didn't know what was coming. You know, these demonstrations in Tahrir Square in Egypt, in Cairo, we didn't know about till it emerged. Toppling Hosni Mubarak at that time, which, by the way, he was in power for over 30 years and found out after he died, stashing billions of dollars in Swiss banks. Where those billions came from? the money we used to give Egypt on a yearly basis. This is how corrupted Egypt is still till today, because it's the military that controls power in Egypt. It's not the president or former military. We, the American government and Saudi Arabia gave Abdel Fattah Sisi, the current president, the nod to go ahead with the coup that took place. You all know, because Mohammed Morsi won the elections democratically. That's what the Egyptian wanted. We didn't like that. And this is what I want you to understand, the big picture of the visit of the king of Bahrain to Russia within that context of survival of the monarchy, changes to the geopolitical landscape in the region, and also the expansion or the flexing of Iran's both military and economic muscles. Why? Because majority Shia in Bahrain and the Al-Thani, Khalifa's monarchy or tribe, whatever you want to call it, concern. The same argument I can make about Saudi Arabia, the same argument I can make about Jordan. So this is what's important to understand. So, and the rest is history, as they say. So this is what Bahrain is all about and all that. So the idea for the king to go there, yes, of course, asking Russia to take part of the international summit about Middle East. But come on, man, you being too vague here. Middle East about what? Let's be specific here. You know, it's because Arab countries, Muslim countries, all I have nothing against anybody, but I'm gonna say it. All of them been exposed as the weakness they possess regarding what's taking place in Gaza. The same thing applies to the West, just from a different angle. The one from the West, it has to do with the rule of law and this democracy and this nonsense stuff. It's been exposed. So both of them. Of course, for Bahrain is a calculation that has to do with the survival of the monarchy. That is what's at the heart of it. And I want you to understand this, because you're not going to be reading it anywhere else. So, and this is why the Bahraini king and the Russian president sort of now they reached that agreement, which you saw that meeting there and that clip, to step up their relationship, because it has been limited as far as what's going on between the two. So now both leaders, they kind of decided, okay, we'll be happy to work together and so forth. Russia also will have its own calculations. Why? How can Russia trust a country like Bahrain? Yeah, you still do business, I guess, to a degree, but remember what's in Bahrain. And here is the picture. I'm going to share a picture with you guys. What's in Bahrain is the Fifth Fleet. Fifth Fleet has a major role to play. So when the king of Bahrain is saying we invited a Russian president to a Middle East peace conference to be held in his country in Bahrain, it's nothing but just a show, no more, no less. Arabs proved, Arabs and Muslim leaders, I'm not saying about the people, Arab and Muslim leaders proved to be so weak, beyond what you can even imagine. And that's exactly where this is showing now, about, we're gonna go and to Russia and ask for the Russians extend an invitation personally and all that stuff. They wanted to go, meaning Bahrain wanted to go to ensure that should things go different directions, since Russia have a close relationship with Iran, the fear of Bahrain has nothing to do with what's going on. It has to do with the majority Shia. Keep this in mind, guys. When you read up articles, whatever, keep this in mind. That's where the main fear within Bahrain, because of the survival of the monarchy. The same thing applies to Jordan and Saudi Arabia. Now, one thing I need you to understand about this is the emblem for the Fifth Fleet. And again, it behooves us to know a little bit about the history of the Fifth Fleet. So, of course, that's part of the U.S. Navy, and its area of proximity, the area of responsibility covers about 2.5 million square miles. That includes the Persian Gulf, the Red Sea, the Arabian Sea, and parts of the Indian Ocean. So, of course, he shared his command headquarters in Bahrain, and that's why the Fifth Fleet, that's why Bahrain, to me, Bahrain will not make this move unilaterally without getting the nod from the US. The same thing like the UK. UK will not do anything without getting the nod from the US. The same applies to Germany, to France, to Italy, because they have no competency whatsoever. So, of course, the command was established after World War II, which, by the way, who won World War II? Let me just test your knowledge here for the record. And I know I've talked about this before. Who won World War II? Yeah, which doesn't get mentioned in the books, history. They've been manipulated. Yeah, you got it, Muslim revert. It was Russia. If you weren't for Russia, because if you weren't for Russia getting involved, the US would have not went in. So, and yet, you're right, TNT, Soviet Union at that time. We manipulated the record and said, oh, it was the US that won. No, it wasn't. So, anyway, after in 1944, the Fifth Fleet conducted extensive operations at that time that led to the defeat of whom? Whom did we defeat in 1944? This, once again, you guys should be familiar with. To give you a heads up or hint, it was in the Central Pacific. You got it, Hoshia, Japan. And by the way, I am going to ask you another question. You know, why did Japanese lost the war? Because it was one thing missing for them. They couldn't have, and that led to their defeat. Yeah, let me see. Oil, army with harmony, you got it. It was access to energy. Once again, guys, history proves to us access to energy means a lot in more than one way. Economically, militarily, you name it. Here it is. Japan couldn't have access to oil or energy, was defeated. When you have a country having access to energy, its economy moves up. Europe was the win, especially Germany, was incredible economically 15, 20 years ago. As I mentioned in that video I did for you, that dedicated video, it was like, all kind, the rest of the world was buying luxury cars from Germany and so forth, the machinery and all that. Why? Because access to cheap energy. That was the difference. We were concerned about seeing where Germany is headed and Europe's economy writ large, and we figure out we're going to have to sabotage that one way or another. Same arguments can be made. And this, once again, I want you guys to really understand these aspects of it. So back then, as I said, defeated the Japanese, including the Battle of Mariana Island, campaign, Iwo Jima, and of course, Okinawa. And right after that one, I think about 2 or 3 years, 1947, if I'm not mistaken, 47, yeah, 2 years. So after which the Allied victory. So this is where the record gets flipped. So it stood down, and after remaining inactive for 48 years, yeah, that's how long it's been inactive. The Fifth Fleet was reactivated in 1995, to be exact, and it contributed significantly to the war on terrorism. So, and that's what I need you to understand as part of where this history is and why. Because when you think, anytime, guys, one piece of information, that is, anytime you see a visit like this from unexpectedly, this doesn't happen just like this in a vacuum. No, No. There is always something behind it. So, and in the case, if the survival of the monarch is because this is a reflection of the trends around the world. People are waking up to the facade of the illusion of the so-called democracy and this and that and the rule of law, and we're all seeing. I mean, when you have now ICC, the International Criminal Court, being threatened, that tells you something. When you have families of judges being threatened, that tells you something. When you have governments sending their dogs to really get physical with protesters or demonstrators that demonstrating peacefully, that tells you something right there. Arab monarchies are no different. They are thinking in terms of survival. Why do you think the king of Jordan and Saudi Arabia allow missiles to cross over their space against the age group? Yeah, where is that Arab unity? Whatever. It's nothing but hypes. It's about the survival. The king of Jordan, which, by the way, you think, is he Jordanian? Is he British? Which is which? For this Bahrain, what the Khalifa, it's because the survival of the family. It's all about the survival, the monarchy to keep control, let alone the majority Shia over there. So this is one thing I need you guys to keep in mind. So, and of course, it goes without saying, as I mentioned earlier, about the 2011 when demonstrators, from the Shia majority rose up, almost demanding the downfall of the Bahraini monarchy in the Arab Spring. And guess what Bahrain did? He blamed it on Iran, of course. And we all know Arab Spring took place in different countries. So and FYI, which just happened, you all know what's going on in the Red Sea, right? You don't hear much about the Red Sea, what's going on. But what's going on is we couldn't defeat the age group. Yeah, despite the power, whatever, we couldn't defeat them. They're still launching missiles, they're still launching rockets, and no ship is crossing without their approval. Well, here is what happened with Bahrain. Bahrain was the only Gulf country to have supported both the US and the UK strikes against the H group in Yemen earlier this year. Yeah. That tells me the story right there. Yeah, you go in to meet with the Russians, sure, because it gives you a stage, global stage, that you are a peace, you are for peace and all that stuff. When you give a damn hoot about sort of the Palestinians and what's going on, because where is this? You couldn't tell the Americans, hey, if you want to have a place here, you need to put your dog on a leash. But they can't. That's why the Fifth Fleet ain't going anywhere. And the Bahrainis, they know. All of a sudden, if they do anything, we'll say, oh, human rights abuses, violation. You know, the playbook. And the playbook now is becoming clear to everybody around the world. This is why, what I talked to you about yesterday for Caledonia, this is why you saw what you saw in Africa. Yeah, the rest of the world is waking up to this reality of enough of this nonsense, because it is nonsense. So that concept of live and let live doesn't exist for them. So, and this is what this is all about. And I want you to be aware of when the king goes over there, ain't about peace, ain't about, that's just a facade. So most of the Arab and Muslim leaders are incompetent. I look at a group like the age group. Look at them. They have nothing. And they took stand. They weren't intimidated by the Americans or the British is useless anyway. Britain is useless. They can't even fight the Russians. And if they do, they run out of ammo in one afternoon. And this was based on internal memo inside the Pentagon. That's how incompetent American top brass sees the British. Yeah, I bet you now, if you remember, if there are to be a conflict, how are they going to fight? The Germany is useless. France is useless. France now is talking. You hear about Macron is saying, well, if the Russians do this, that means if they win, that means we're gonna be next. No. Russia has no interest in that. Simple as that. They meaning the West, meaning NATO, meaning whatever, they don't want to accept the fact that Russia took stand as far as not allowing any further expansions eastward. Simple as that. I mean, when you have countries like Estonia now saying the Russians can't do this, you can't do that. Estonia is useless. And once again, why am I sharing this? Is to highlight to you the big picture. When you see in a country like Bahrain, go, what does Bahrain do? What can Bahrain offer? Yeah. I mean, Saudi Arabia will be different because of the oil. United Arab Emirates will be different because of oil. Qatar because of gas. Bahrain have some, but no, not in comparison to the others. As a matter of fact, they got in skirmishes with the Qataris. Yeah. The Qataris won over inside the country way back, I think in, if I'm not mistaken, 96, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's where the Qataris went in. So anyway, this is what I wanted to share with you guys, and I just wanted to put this in perspective for you to understand why does the dynamics happen, why those kind of visits all of a sudden happen. I will be interested to see what comes out of this. Of course, they signed some agreements regarding some business transactions, which is normal and all that, but you have to see the big picture, geopolitically speaking, out of all this, and we'll see and go from there. So before I'll turn it over to some questions, excuse me, I want to share a picture here. Yeah, this is what Russia did prior to the visit. They put the colors of the flag of Bahrain. A symbolic gesture, I guess. So Russians also know how to play, because remember, those are U.S. allies. You know, trust them will be a big mistake. You know, and Arab leaders, they'll flip on you quickly. That just that's how it is. By the way, guys, I am working on two other stories that I am gonna be reading through and researching all of that. I might ask your vote on which topic you want, but one of them that I just find out last night, of course, that happened before, but I gotta read through before I'll. It has to do with China sanctioning defense companies, U.S. defense companies, and all this is tied to the visit of the Li from Taiwan to the U.S. Is in the U.S. and meeting with the congressional. I posted this on the community. So remember, guys, to join me on Friday for my interview with Dr. Yan Liang. I look forward to that conversation, and I'll just go from there. So, all right, let me see if there are any questions. Once again, I want to say thank you to all supporters for the channel. Here is the link. Should you decide to, TC Kwan just bought me about almost 6 cups of coffees. Thank you so much, TC Kwan. Osiris on a daily basis, man. I'm very grateful. I don't take it for granted. I don't take your support, guys, for granted. I want you to know. And of course, I pay it forward one way or another, because that's how it goes. You don't just take, you give also. There is something going on right now that I am thinking about. One of our member here in the community. There are some other issues. I'm not going to detail stuff, of course, because that's private information. And to me, we're gonna figure out a way to help, because that's what this community is all about, and I believe in that. In whatever capacity I can personally help, because if I am to help, is the same way you are helping. That's how I look at it. So we are on this together, guys, because that's how I look at it. So I'm very grateful to your support also. All right, let me see. Oh, Jane Juan, thank you so much for your super sticker, man. Really appreciate it. You said another good lesson. Yeah, we're learning here, guys. I learn from you as well. I want you to know it goes both directions, and that's why, to me, the well-being of the community, intellectually speaking, means a lot to me and is very important. So, Muslim revert. Yes, I heard about the Egyptian soldier who died. I don't know if this is going to change the calculus now or not. You know, one thing Israel feared the most is the Egyptian military. That's one thing. I know this for a fact. All right, I'm going to scroll down here to see if there are questions. Just put Q. I know it's a question, and I'll answer it for you guys. Francis Tango, is it true that BRICS countries sanctioned Israel? I'm not aware of this. I'm not aware of it. And no, I'm not aware. So I can't answer something I am not even aware of, let alone maybe just give my opinion. But I will look into that and let you know later on. Oh, boycott. Thank you, Dr. O and chatters, for all the generous information. You're most welcome. Speaking of that reminds me of someone, one of our viewers by the name of Donut Wu. He wrote this, and I want to share it with you guys. It's quote, thanks, David. You have made your channel very innovative and open for discussions so that we all can learn from the discussions to better our understanding of world events. It takes the big heart of yours to do that. I admire that. End of quote. You're most welcome. I mean, again, guys, I look at it both ways. Always, please keep that in mind. I am here to learn from you as well. That's how it goes. All right, let me take a question. Army with Harmony. Question. Some folks are saying Ukraine fails in June. Israel is hanging on by a thread too. How much longer can this conflict continue? No, they won't. Even if they continue, they're going to continue on a different trajectory. That it won't matter, because the world is moving on in a different direction. When I say the world, I'm talking about the global south. I'm talking about those who wants to leave the US dominance. Of course, it goes without saying. I don't see the European doing this, because Europeans are so weak. Not all of them, because you're seeing what Hungary did with China. You're seeing what Serbia did with China. But when you hear what the Prime Minister of Estonia, useless states, because they have to follow the narrative. That's how they keep the machine going, per se. This is why you're hearing now about the US State Department is sending aid to Ukraine. What aid? Ukraine is done for. But they are sending this because of the upcoming elections here in the US. So it's just all just for a show. No more, no less. So yeah, Israel dug a hole for itself. Ukraine is already a failed state, corrupted, and it's done for. And that's it. Now the Russians are making some serious gains. And I am going to reach out to Larry Johnson, of course, and bring him on the show. We'll talk about some updates on all this. So that's where I see it. Message from OMC. And good to see you, OMC. Rafah border crossing getting hot. Egyptian open fire on invaders without orders. Egyptian army is highly disciplined. Do you believe this is? No. Yeah, but at the same time, what about the operation that the Prime Minister Netanyahu ordered and now regret? No, No, what they want, Israel in this case, government, not the people, of course. What they wanted to expand the conflict, make it even worse. Now it becomes on the US what it's going to do. But the US, we all know. We all know. We have no credibility, zero. We shouldn't be talking about the rule of law. We shouldn't be talking about human rights. We shouldn't be talking about democracy. We shouldn't be talking about decency. There is none of that. None of that. And that, like I said last time, guys, those are the signs that the end is here. The question is how we're going to go out. We're going to go out peacefully, or we're going to create. And I am looking at the other side, which concerns me most. We're going to go out with more tensions. And I look at it just by the conversation yesterday in Washington between the head of the Foreign Relations Committee, I believe, who's a Texan, by the way, in Congress, and the Lai Chie-te from Taiwan, about the need to expedite the sending of weapons to Taiwan. That tells me where things are. So that's what it's going to be. Okay, let me see another question. TNT, thank you so much, man. By the way, guys, TNT, to those who might not know, TNT's been with me here for forever. Since the beginning, has been an avid supporter, and I am very grateful to all of you. But TNT has been there supporting in more ways than one. Remember, guys, most of the support of you, some of you support on a different capacity, and that's okay. But TNT has always been so generous in support of the channel. So thank you so much, TNT. Truly appreciate it. You wrote, Russia has shown that U.S. weapons are not up to standard. My view is going up against China will be a dead wish for the U.S. What are your thoughts? Absolutely. We are not equipped to deal with the amphibious type of wars, let alone the geography of it. Because who's going to be an advantage if we are to fight the Chinese? Of course, the Chinese. The proximity, we have to cross the seas. Do you think China is going to wait for us till we get there? They're sinking everything in the middle of the ocean, whatever it is. And by the way, those bases that are in Philippines and South Korea and Japan, they will be Australia, they will be targeted. This is why this Caledonia issue is all about. Also, the France maintaining presence ain't about France. It's because the US will have to push for the presence of weapons on there. They don't want, France and the US and the West, they don't want Caledonia to move east towards China, like what PNG did, like what the Maldives did. So, no, there is no way, there is no way we will take you. We can't, and let alone the Chinese naval assets. Now, yeah, China of today is not China of 30 years ago. This is something we don't want to accept. We know it's a fact, but we don't want to accept it. The same thing about its rise. We don't want to accept. That's why we did what we did to the Europeans to keep them down under our thumb, because that's how we have managed the world. And the world has said it's enough, time to move on in a different direction. The end of an empire is coming to an end. That's usually what. Thank you so much, TNT. Truly appreciate you for your support. John Smith, thank you so much for your support. You wrote great topics, Dr. O. Thanks. You're most welcome. And thank you, John, for your intellectual contribution also. So this is why you guys keep the conversation going, so we learn. Because that's what this is all about. So I was thinking about today when I was reached out, RT reached out to me yesterday. I said, Dr. O, would you please just come on our show, whatever. So, and RT, oh no, it's TV stuff and production, high quality, whatever. But to me was the idea of, hey, I'm not going to be BS in here. You either speak facts or not at all. Same thing I feel about you guys here. So your contribution to the conversation is very, very important. Thank you so much, John. Truly appreciate you. All right, let me see another question. Truth Seeker, when is your conversation with Kaza again? I just sent him a message today. I'm waiting to hear from him. And if we do, we'll be this weekend, either Saturday or Sunday. But of course, I have to work also with his schedule. It's not about me here; it's about him as well. So that's the right thing to do. So, all right, one more question if I find one. Okay, and I'll put. I'm glad. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I'm gonna put the question for you guys as far as the which topic you would like me to cover. So, oh, YA, congrats, Doc. I'm glad to see you are getting the recognition you deserve. Thank you very much. To me, it's always about the idea of raising awareness. That's what I'm after. I'm after raising awareness around the world because we are all belong to the same human race. We are all believe in peace. We are all, you have families, you have loved ones, you have mom, dad, grandpa, grandma, sister, brothers, whatever. So to me, I push for that concept and notion of live and let live. Live and let live. And how would you do that? You're going to have to raise awareness, to educate the masses about understanding, first of all, what's happening. Because what is happening not in a vacuum. You have to break that down and break it down in a language that they can understand, the basic stuff. And we go from there. So this is where I see, something like this to me. When RT reached out, of course, but to me, if that will be another medium by which I can reach other people around the world, I will do it. I'll do it. As long as the outlet has credibility. So now, if CNN reach out to me, I'm going to have to debate because they're not going to like what I'm going to say. And to me, if you are to tell me what to say and not to say, we're done. We're done. This is why when I do, guys, there's a supported video, dedicated video for sponsor, whatever, I make it clear, They ain't going to tell me what to say and not to say because I'll tell you from the upfront. I don't work that way. And they all say, Dr. O, you do what you do. We don't get involved. It's just because your credibility, that's why we're reaching out to you. So, and I appreciate you guys for supporting. I saw that video was moving up. TNT, you want me to do the debate with I'll be happy to show up as long as they don't, because I've seen when sometimes they can cut off. I'll be happy to talk to this Fareed Zakaria himself, which to me he's wishy-washy. I used to read up his stuff, whatever. The guy is wishy-washy. I'll be happy, or even Fox, whatever. So as long as, but I do know what they do. I do know when you start getting to the nitty-gritty stuff, they cut it short because they don't want people to know. That's what they do. And I do not like that one, but I'll be happy. It's like what we did last time, guys. I sent the invitation to Gordon. You all know Gordon Chung, right? Never heard back from the guy. And of course, if he comes on here, we have to be respectful. That's no go. Yeah, we have to be respectful, guys. That's a requirement because he's a guest. And in my nature, and I am sure in yours as well, when you have a guest, you show the proper. Of course, I will have to call him out and challenge him on certain assertions, but he will be given the proper respect. He will be given the floor to explain his point of view, and I will have to challenge those point of views. But I never heard back. So life goes on. Yeah, you're right. Almaz Habibi. CNN is done for. It was never. Most of the mainstream media, Fox and CNN and all the ABC, NBC, whatever. If TV in general, don't. Now, in your location, whatever part of the world you're in, if you know a news outlet there that you trust and have credibility, you can watch them. TNT, once again, thank you very much. You wrote, Zakaria is wishy-washy. He is. I used to listen to the guy from way back when he used to write for Times or whatever. And there were some topics one time. I was way back. I remember a few years ago on Sunday. I used to listen to it at 10 o'clock. And I was like, what the heck is he talking about? Then the story ain't going that direction. And it dawned on me that, like, no. You are using the stage to manipulate the masses here. That ain't all right. Yeah, you write books or articles, whatever, so what? We all can write books. But if you have no credibility, so what that's going to do you? So if he wants to show up, and I'll be happy to send him a note if he wants to, and I'm going to do it, guys. You have my word. I'm going to send of course, he's going to think of this channel very small. Like, I don't care. I'm going to send it. If he has the decency to even respond and say, I'm sorry, I can't, which I understand and I respect. We see. I'll keep you guys posted. Varoufakis. Well, the problem with Varoufakis, we did send him an invitation. He never responded. Now, to me, I do frown at stuff like that. You know why? It's a sign of respect. What's her name? The professor. She's in England. Let me see here, and I'm gonna show you here, guys. Yeah, Professor Q. When I sent her the email, you know what? Within 48 hours, I think even 24 hours, her publicist, Paul, sent me a response. He's saying, Doctor, I'm going to read it to you guys. He said, hi, David. I am Q's Jane publicist. Thank you so much for reaching out. Unfortunately, Q's schedule is demanding over the next few months, and she's unable to do this interview. Thanks again for your interest in having her on your program, and I look forward to staying in touch. All the best, Paul. Yeah, that's, to me, it's the courtesy. And I'm not judging Varoufakis or anyone else. It's just the idea that I'll try, but whoever, I mean, I look at it with Larry Johnson. I send him an email, I get a response within 48 hours. No ifs and buts, and he will show up. Why? Because he wanted to help people learn about the issues. Even Scott Ritter, if he's listening to this, I've been emailing him more than once. I text 3 times. No response. That's an insult to me. Even though I respect Scott, and I will still respect Scott. But the idea, there's you all know what it means. So we'll see. Okay, guys, I am going to sign off here because I'm going to go work on, and yes, Hamad Sidi, please, thank you for sharing this. Click the likes, guys, to help the channel move forward. So we greatly appreciate you guys. So I'm going to go work out some stories. I'll put the survey for you. Then most likely I will do another live stream for you tomorrow. Then we'll just go from there. Okay? As always, guys, I draw a blank. As always, remember, geopolitics impact your daily life in more ways than one. Till next time, guys. Bye-bye.